All right, let's dive into this. The Beast of Bray Road. We're going deep into rural Wisconsin, a place where, folklore might just be reality. We're talking about a creature that's haunted this area, well, for almost a century. The Beast of Bray Road. I bet you're probably thinking, what is this beast? How many sightings have there even been?
Mm.
And the big one, is there actually any truth to these stories?
It's a great question and a perfect spot to start our deep dive. It's amazing how a place that's, usually seen as peaceful and quiet can become, well, the setting for something so mysterious.
Yeah, no kidding. There's just something about small towns and their secrets that get people hooked.
Oh, absolutely. It really taps into that, like, primal fear, the unknown lurking in the shadows, just out of sight.
Exactly. And, we've got some firsthand accounts that'll make you think twice about taking a walk in the woods at night.
Oh, I bet. Let's hear about them.
All right, so one of the earliest stories goes all the way back to 1936. There was this night watchman at St. Coletta School, Mark Shackman. He had an experience he wouldn't forget, that's for sure.
I can imagine what happened.
So picture this. He's making his rounds,
Yeah.
checking the grounds, when he spots something digging in a mound of earth.
Okay, yeah, in the middle of the night. Spooky already.
Right. At first, he thinks, oh, it's just a stray dog. But as he gets closer, something seems really off about it.
Yeah, you can just feel that something bad is about to happen. Those late night vibes in a quiet place.
Totally. So Shackman, brave guy that he is, takes a few steps closer to get a better line. He hears the digging stop, and the creature just turns its head.
Oh, no. And then what?
What he sees is basically straight out of a nightmare. The creature rises up on its hind legs, towering over him. Shackman describes seeing like these huge fangs, glowing eyes, and smelling this awful stench.
Oh, gosh, that's terrifying. Like rotting meat.
Exactly, rotting meat.
Wow. It's interesting how even in these early accounts, we see this mix of human and animal features. Like it's something that just doesn't fit into any category we know.
Right, it messes with your head. So Shackman, he's frozen in fear, and after what felt like forever, the creature just drops back down on all fours and vanishes into the darkness. Poof, gone.
Wow. It makes you wonder, like, what would you do in that situation?
Oh man, I don't even want to think about it. So let's jump ahead a few decades. Fast forward to the 1980s, and we get the encounter that really put the Beast of Bray Road on the map.
Oh, okay. This is the one I've heard whispers about. What happened?
A young woman was driving alone at night on Bray Road. Suddenly, she feels this impact, like she hit something.
Classic horror movie start. Alone on a dark road.
I know, right? Her heart's pounding. She pulls over and gets out to check for damage.
Oh man, I can't imagine the courage that took.
I wouldn't have gotten out of the car. But she does. Checks the car. No damage, nothing in the road. But just as she turns to get back in,
It's standing right there, isn't it?
you got it. Standing there in the headlights, massive, shadowy figure, eyes locked on her. You can practically feel the adrenaline surge just thinking about it.
I can only imagine the fear.
She scrambles back into the car, but the creature's already moving. It leaps onto the back of her car.
You're kidding. What? How strong is this thing?
It's insane. She speeds off, absolutely terrified, and thankfully it slides off. But when she gets home, she finds claw marks on her car.
Yeah.
Real physical evidence.
Wow, the claw marks, they make it so much more real.
They do, right. Like
Yeah.
it blurs the line between a story and, well, a true encounter. And
Yep.
this is what really got people talking. Sightings started pouring in after that. It turned this local legend into a national phenomenon.
Wow, a small town legend turned national news. That's powerful. And I bet with all that attention comes, well, a lot of different stories and details, right?
Absolutely. So let's talk about what people are actually reporting in these encounters. What patterns stand out to you?
Well, first off, pretty much everyone agrees on the size. It's consistently described as being 6 to 7 feet tall when it's standing on its hind legs. That's not your average animal, right?
No, it's not. Imagine seeing that in the dark. Pretty intimidating.
Absolutely intimidating. And the descriptions of its appearance are also, well, they're eerily similar. Most people describe it as humanoid, but with these wolf-like features, covered in hair, glowing eyes, sharp fangs.
Like a werewolf, straight out of the movies.
It really does sound like a werewolf. And then there's that growl. So many witnesses talk about this deep, menacing growl that just sends chills down their spines.
It's like something primal, like
Yeah.
something deep in our DNA that tells us to run.
Exactly. It's not just a sound, it's a warning. And what about the way it moves?
Another thing that comes up a lot is that the creature can move on all fours and on two legs, but it seems to prefer walking upright when it encounters humans. like it's trying to, I don't know, intimidate us.
Maybe it's more than just intimidation. Maybe it's trying to communicate. Or maybe it's just observing us, trying to figure us out just as much as we're trying to figure it out.
That's a chilling thought, like it's studying us. And speaking of trying to figure it out, let's talk about Linda Godfrey.
Linda Godfrey, the reporter. What's her connection to the Beast of Bray Road?
Yeah, she's the one who was assigned to cover the Beast of Bray Road story for a local newspaper. And she started out as a total skeptic.
So she was like, this is all nonsense, right?
Pretty much. But get this, her investigation completely changed her mind. She went from skeptic to believer. She even wrote a book about it called The Beast of Bray Road, Tailing Wisconsin's Werewolf.
Wow, that's a pretty big shift. What happened to change her mind?
Well, she started by interviewing the witnesses, really diving into their stories. And what struck her was how sincere and consistent they were. It's like their belief, their conviction was contagious.
So even a seasoned journalist, someone who's trained to be objective and critical, was swayed by the power of these firsthand accounts. That says something.
It really does. It shows that there's more to this story than meets the eye. But of course, not everyone is convinced. There are plenty of people who are skeptical about the Beast of Bray Road, and they've got some pretty good arguments.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's always another side to the story. So let's talk about the skeptics. What are some of their main arguments against the beast being real?
One of the biggest ones is misidentification. They argue that people are mistaking common animals for something more sinister. Like, imagine seeing a bear on his hind legs in the dark. Pretty easy to jump to conclusions, right?
Right. Especially if you've already heard all these scary stories about the beast.
Exactly. Your mind's already primed to see a monster. And then there's the idea of mass hysteria. When a story like this gets a lot of attention, it can take on a life of its own.
Like a snowball effect. One person sees something, tells their story, and suddenly everyone's seeing the beast everywhere.
And then there's the lack of physical evidence. No bodies, no clear photographs, no DNA samples. If a creature this big and unusual was really out there, you'd think we would have found more concrete proof by now, right?
Yeah, the lack of hard evidence is definitely a challenge for the believers. It leaves a lot of room for doubt. But then again, maybe the beast is just really good at hiding. Wisconsin has a lot of dense forests and remote areas where something could easily stay hidden.
That's true. The idea that there's something out there that we haven't discovered yet is pretty exciting, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It keeps that sense of wonder alive.
Okay, so skeptics often bring up this thing called the single creature theory. They ask, how could a solitary creature survive for so long without being caught or leaving behind more evidence? It doesn't make much sense from a biological standpoint, right?
Yeah, it's tricky. A single creature wouldn't be able to sustain a population. Eventually, its lifespan would end, and the sightings would stop.
So if we're saying that the beast is real, it would need to be part of a breeding population.
Right. Logically, yeah. But then that leads to another question. If there's a whole group of these creatures, why haven't we seen more of them? Why aren't there more encounters, more evidence? It creates this fascinating paradox.
It really does. Okay, let's throw another cryptid into the mix. The Michigan Dogman.
The Michigan Dogman. Okay, this is getting interesting. How does that fit in?
So some people who believe in the Beast of Bray Road think that what they're seeing is actually the Michigan Dogman, another cryptid with similar features.
So are you saying there could be a connection between these two creatures? Like they're part of some bigger phenomenon, maybe?
Maybe. Or maybe it's more about our shared mythology. You know, how humans try to explain the unexplainable, the things that go bump in the night.
It's fascinating how these stories and legends can overlap and evolve across different regions. It's like we're all connected by our need to make sense of the world around us, even the parts that scare us.
And that's what makes this so intriguing. The Beast of Bray Road, is it real? Is it something else entirely? Or is it just our imaginations running wild? It's a question that's going to keep us guessing for a long time.
I agree. It's a mystery that's likely to endure. You know, one thing that's really interesting about this whole thing is how the Beast of Bray Road has, like, seeped into popular culture.
It's true. It's like this creature has clawed its way into movies and TV shows and all sorts of things.
Oh, absolutely. Like, take the movie The Beast of Bray Road. Came out back in 2005. Classic horror flick. Small town. Terrorized by, you guessed it, a mysterious creature.
Oh, I got to check that out. You know, I love those kinds of movies. They really play on that fear of the unknown, don't they?
For sure. And then there's the 2018 documentary, The Bray Road Beast. This one goes deeper into the investigation, you know, explores the witness accounts, examines the evidence. It's pretty fascinating.
I've noticed documentaries about these kinds of mysteries seem to be getting more popular. It's like they present the information in a way that feels more real, more grounded, which makes the whole thing even more, well, believable, I guess.
Totally. And we can't forget all of the TV shows about cryptids and the paranormal that have featured the beast. Shows like Lost Tapes and Haunted Highway and In Search of
It's
Monsters.
like the Beast of Bray Road has become this pop culture icon. Everyone wants a piece of the Wisconsin werewolf.
Haha. That's a good way to put it. And all this attention has really cemented its place in, modern folklore.
It really has. And, the internet has played a huge role in all of this too, spreading the stories, connecting people who are interested in these sorts of things. It's kind of amazing, actually.
Oh, absolutely. The internet has been a game changer for cryptid enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Creates this whole global community.
Yeah. It's like no matter where you are in the world, if you're fascinated by the Beast of Bray Road, you can find other people who are just as into it as you are.
Exactly. And it's not just online communities. Did you know that people actually travel to Elkhorn, Wisconsin, hoping to catch a glimpse of the beast?
No way. Really?
Yeah, they have guided tours and themed events. It's become a bit of a tourist attraction.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like the Beast of Bray Road has become like the Loch Ness Monster of Wisconsin.
Uh-huh. I like that. The Loch Ness Monster of Wisconsin. I think it really speaks to our, enduring fascination with the unknown. Even in this day and age, we're still drawn to these mysteries.
Okay, so we've talked about the sightings and the impact, but what about the possible explanations? I mean, what are people really seeing out there? We talked about misidentification earlier. What kinds of animals could be mistaken for the beast?
Well, like we were saying before, bears are a strong contender. They can stand on their hind legs. They're large. They're intimidating. And they definitely live in the areas where a lot of these sightings happen.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Especially at night. If you catch a quick glimpse of a bear in the dark, it's not hard to imagine your mind turning it into something more, well, monstrous.
Exactly. And wolves, too. They're not as big as bears, but they've got a similar build, and they could definitely appear larger or more threatening in low light.
And what about dogs? I mean, a big dog, especially a dark one, could be pretty scary if you encounter it unexpectedly.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you add in the power of suggestion. If you've already heard all these stories about the Beast of Bray Road, your mind might be more likely to interpret any weird animal sighting as, well, the beast.
It's like you see what you expect to see.
Exactly. It's all about perception. But then again, there's always the chance that some of these sightings are of something, well, something we can't explain.
That's true. There's always that element of mystery. So, besides misidentification, are there any other possible explanations we should consider?
Well, there's a theory that some sightings could be attributed to a rare genetic condition called hypertrichosis. It causes excessive hair growth all over the body.
Hypertrichosis. Wow. So you're saying that someone with this condition could be mistaken for, like, a hairy wolf-like creature?
Yeah, it's possible, especially if they're encountered in a remote area, away from civilization. It's definitely something to think about.
It's like science fiction meets reality. And, we can't forget about the possibility of hoaxes. Some people might just be making up these sightings for attention or, I don't know, maybe even for some kind of personal gain.
Oh yeah, hoaxes are always a factor. It's impossible to rule them out entirely, and they definitely make it harder to separate genuine encounters from, well, from the fakes.
Right. It makes you wonder about some of those early stories, like the one with the night watchman, Shackman, back in 1936. Maybe it was just a story meant to, entertain people or maybe even scare them a little bit.
It's definitely possible, and it just goes to show how tricky it can be to rely solely on eyewitness accounts.
Sure.
Memories are unreliable, and stories change over time.
That's a good point. So we've got misidentification, mass hysteria, the possibility of hoaxes. But is there a chance, any chance at all, that we're dealing with something totally new, something that science hasn't classified yet?
It's a possibility, right? However remote it might be, we're still discovering new species all the time. There are vast areas of the world that are still unexplored.
It's kind of exciting to think about, isn't it? That there are still mysteries out there waiting to be solved.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
But then it leads us back to the biggest question. If the beast is real, why haven't we found any concrete evidence? Where are the bones, the tracks, the DNA? It's the one thing that believers really struggle to explain.
Yeah, you're right. It's the missing piece of the puzzle. So where does that leave us? It seems like we have more questions than answers when it comes to the Beast of Bray Road.
It's true. It's a fascinating enigma, a blend of folklore, eyewitness accounts, and scientific speculation. And in the end, it's really up to each of us to decide what we believe.
Exactly. Do we embrace the mystery? Do we demand concrete proof?
Mm.
Or do we try to find some kind of middle ground? What do you think?
I think it's all about finding that balance, being open to the possibility of the unknown while still being grounded in, well, in what we can actually observe and verify.
I like that. A balance between open-mindedness and healthy skepticism.
Exactly. And, even if we never find definitive proof of the Beast of Bray Road, the stories, the legends, the impact it's had on our culture, that's all very real.
Absolutely. And those stories are going to continue to fascinate and intrigue people for, well, probably for generations to come. So we've covered a lot about the Beast of Bray Road, the sightings, the possible explanations, even its Hollywood cameos. Yeah, it's been quite the journey.
It has. But there's this other aspect, this kind of, this lasting impact, on our culture that we haven't really touched on yet.
It's really fascinating, isn't it, how a local legend, something that starts in a small town, can, grow into something that captures the imagination of people all over the world. The Beast of Bray Road. It's like a perfect example of how folklore evolves, how it adapts and becomes part of our, I guess, our collective consciousness.
It's like the beast has become a modern myth, reflecting all our anxieties, our fascination with the unknown. Why do you think that these sorts of stories resonate with us so much?
Well, I think it's a combination of things, really. There's the primal fear, right? The fear of the unknown. And then there's the thrill of a good mystery. And then there's the possibility, that maybe, just maybe, there's more to the world than we can see and explain. And the Beast of Bray Road, it kind of embodies all of that. It's interesting, how the beast has almost become this symbol, like a symbol of all our anxieties about the wild, about the things that are lurking just beyond what we understand.
Yeah, I see that. And it's not just about the fear, though, right? There's the sense of wonder, too, a curiosity about these creatures. We're drawn to this idea that maybe there is something extraordinary out there, something that, challenges how we see reality.
Right. It reminds us that even in this age of, technology and information overload, the world's still full of mysteries. But do you think, how we tell these stories, through movies and on the internet, do you think that's changed how we see the Beast of Bray Road?
Oh, absolutely. The media, it plays a huge role in shaping our perceptions. The Beast of Bray Road, even though it comes from these older werewolf legends, it's taken on this very modern flavor. It shows up in films, TV shows, even internet memes.
It's like the creature itself is shape-shifting, adapting to how our culture changes.
Haha, I like that. It's true, though. And maybe that evolution, that constant reimagining of the beast is the most interesting part of this whole mystery. It shows us that folklore, it's alive, it's breathing, it's changing along with us.
It's like a mirror, reflecting back our fears and fascinations. Well, wow, this has been quite the deep dive. We've gone from the back roads of Wisconsin to, the heart of folklore and human curiosity.
It really has been a journey, hasn't it?
It has, full of twists and turns. And in the end, I guess it really comes down to this. What do you believe? Do you embrace the mystery? Do you need, hard proof? Or, is there something in between?
I think that's the beauty of it, right? We get to choose how we approach these things, whether we're diehard believers or, committed skeptics or somewhere in the middle. What matters is that we keep that curiosity alive.
Well said. Thanks for joining us as we explored the strange and fascinating world of the Beast of Bray Road. Keep an open mind, keep exploring. And hey, maybe you'll have your own encounter with the unknown someday.